Great to have everybody here. Thank you, Diana and Louis, for the support and for the event. So we're going to dive right in. My name is Rachel Newport. I work for Amber Studio. I'm based in Guadalajara, in Mexico. And we're going to be talking about experience design, play, and VR today. So if everybody is ready, let's go. I'm going to outline a challenge, a particular event and challenge that I faced as a designer in the past. We're going to talk about value proposition design through that experience. We'll talk about design thinking and design feeling. And we'll spend quite a bit of time on personas because UX designers love personas. And we'll wrap up with some takeaways. The reason that I wanted to talk about this is because there's a heavy focus in this talk on the importance of experimentation. And I think the audience, in the context of a game jam, that's a really nice fit. I also was hoping to leave you with the idea for those people who aren't sure exactly what UX design is. It is the wireframing and the journey maps and all those things, but it can also be so much more. You have a lot of wiggle room as a designer. And so, yeah, hopefully we can make that point to make the case for that. So we'll just kick off for anybody that is new to user experience design, or has no idea really what that is. That makes a lot of sense. It's a pretty new area, and a lot of game companies don't even have UX designers yet, although it's gaining a lot of popularity now. So these are all of the things that it can touch. As you can see, this is referenced from Center. And so if you are looking for another resource to go to find out more, highly recommend that for information on user experience design. What are UX designers? What are we as creatures? Well, we're a mix of a bunch of stuff, which is illustrated really nicely here. So if you're thinking about getting into UX design, all you really need is the interest and the passion to do that thing, because it touches so many of the other areas involved. Today we'll talk a little bit more from a business perspective, also because of a game jam and because some of you might be kind of entrepreneurial. I was hoping that would be an interesting thread for us to explore together over the hours. So let's dive in. So let's just 1 second, perhaps you have some strange audio. Okay, so let's look at a particular challenge. Design is all about reframing challenges and problems. So let's take a look at this one. Back a little bit on a bit of a journey, back to 2016. And I was trying to design a project that embraced diversity. We had a lot of polarization at that time, like really kicking off and ramping up in our political and social environments. And I was very keen to look at how we could be way more inclusive. At the end of the day, we're all way more similar than we are different. And so that was a big pillar of the challenge. How do we embrace diversity more together? How do we design together more? How do we embrace the power of play? We want to co-create, we want to collaborate, we want to be equal together, and we want to make sure that we're engaging with material. So as we move into the experiential age, the experiential economy, how can we further amplify the power of play in our lives and projects? And VR technology, which I will not now spend an hour ranting about, but if anybody does want to talk about that, reach out to me anytime. It's definitely a passion area for me, really, because of the power that you have to look through somebody else's eyes, to experience the world in a different way, and to enhance empathy. And of course, as UX designers, we're very concerned with empathy and empathy mapping and how we do that in a really meaningful way. So not just like throwaway answers on a form or a board, really tapping down deeply into who other people are. That's a huge challenge. That's not an easy thing to do. That's not an exact science, and it requires experimentation and a lot of thought. So we're really gonna dig into that in this talk quite a bit. So the pleasures of the home office. Can you hear the puppy? Okay, let's let the puppy do its thing. Great company though, right? In Corona times. Okay, good stuff. So for those of you who are designers, you've of course seen this. So this is design thinking. These are the basic steps of design thinking. For those of you that aren't designers, this is just thinking for you, and you probably do it all the time as well. It's nothing fancy or special about design. This is really just a process that we're all going through, particularly in software development. So for those of you that don't know, what we do is we empathize with our player. We define the results of that process. We ideate, we blue sky think, we brainstorm, we improvise, and then we rapid prototype, we do our wireframes, build fast prototypes, and then we test as often as possible. Test all of our assumptions as regularly as they come up. And you can go through this cycle continually. This isn't one line, this is a circle, and also not necessarily in that order. So this is just like a constant thing that we're cycling through as designers all the time. So using this, let's address that challenge. So what do? We ran some game jams, essentially. So we would invite a bunch of super diverse people who had never worked together before, that really had no idea about gaming, you know. So unlike a regular game jam, these were people from completely different walks of life. And we got them all together in a room, taught them a little bit about the technology, a little bit about the design process, and then, okay, what can we come up with together? So after running a bunch of these projects, as someone trying to find value proposition and trying to find a business case of this project, I had to find value proposition. So for those of you that don't or aren't familiar with that term, it really just means matching your value with your market, finding a market need for your value. And you can also do this for any feature you're designing. It's really about getting that perfect fit. Who are you designing for? And is it a fit with what they actually want? So your answers in the chat. I'm very curious about what we all think about startups, about how often they fail, and about why they fail. So put yourself in the shoes of someone who is an entrepreneur. They've come up with this world life-changing idea. It's incredible. They are so convinced that it's so fantastic that they throw all their money or their time or their love or their energy or their resources into this idea for years and years. They're so sure that it's fantastic, but is it always? Have they tested those assumptions? So often not. It's hard. It's hard to figure out that something isn't a good fit, no matter what you're designing. So the top reasons for startups failing is there was never even a market need. in the first place. No one wanted what you invested so hard in creating, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. And then there's all those other reasons, maybe some of the ones that you thought of, maybe the team, maybe the money, maybe the commitment, right? But overwhelmingly, there was never a market need for that product. So definitely one to keep in mind when you're designing features, products, services. It all applies. This is the value proposition canvas for those of you that haven't seen it. So it's one tiny zoomed in part of a business model canvas. And essentially what you're trying to do is identify the pains and gains of your player, of your user, of your customer. So you figure out who it is you're building this thing for, and you keep coming back to that question. And then you figure out, like, what is it they want, what is it they need, and how do I design specifically for those things, not just based on an assumption of what I think is cool, what do my players want, what do my users want. So you might look at this canvas and you might come up with some kind of off the top of the head, superficial ideas, and maybe it makes a little sense, but you didn't get very deep insights, right? It's not easy. So I recommend like breaking these down into parts, like what does pains mean and what do games mean for your different customer segments. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But UX designers, we're really focused on research. So observation, research, and evaluation. We're taught to get out of the building, to talk to people, to test with people that are not just in the office next to you. And what we're really trying to find out are these pains and gains. We're really trying to get into the heads of other people. Not an easy thing to do. So let's recap our pillars for this project. We've got diversity, we've got play, we've got new technology. Awesome. So let's test it out, right? We're designers, we've got this hypothesis. Let's test it. Can it work? Can we improve value proposition design through the workshops, through those kind of game jam events that we had been running? Can we apply those to value proposition design? So we start some workshops. The goal is to prototype user profiles in virtual reality to quickly build deeper empathy, gain clear understanding of product market fit, and improve value proposition. The aims and the benefits that we're going for are to achieve a deeper understanding, get more accurate results way quicker. Okay, so we don't want to spend like 2 years finding out that that wasn't a good fit for the market. We want to do that right away. We don't want to develop a feature for months when we're making games. We want to find out right away if that's a match. We want to enable collaboration in VR, in this fantastic new tech that we want everybody to be using, not just a tiny demographic of people in a certain country, for example. We want to build a really diverse ecosystem around new technology, and we want to apply this toolkit that we're testing in these events. We want to be able to apply it to all kinds of different design. And we want multidisciplinary collaborations. We want to enrich that problem-solving process. And just a note to remember that we are designing engaging experiences, not just for players, but for each other all the time. Like, so for our colleagues at work, when you run a workshop or a meeting, anything you're doing, you're facilitating fun also. You know, it doesn't have to get dry because it isn't in the market yet. These are your friends and your colleagues and people that you're trying to empower the creativity with, right? So you're facilitating fun, you're engaging people, you're putting your players and participants into a flow state. That's the goal. And you're trying to make them a co-author of the experience. So you're setting the environment for them to create their own experience through the game or through the event or through the meeting, no matter what we're doing. So let's dig into those personas. Pains and gains, what does that mean? We're going to use an example here of biodegradable packaging. I'm not going to talk about that too much because, fine. That's our example here. So let's dig into what gains are. let's come up with a person. Let's say it's Trish. So we've got teams. They've each come up with a persona. So what does it mean to figure out someone's game? Well, break that down. Think about questions like, what makes her look good? What makes her happy? What is she looking for most? What would her dreams be? What would be a big relief for Trish? Let's take Becky. What problems might Becky run into? Our hypothetical character, right? Based on a customer segment, a player segment. She's busy, she doesn't have enough time to buy packaging, she wants to be environmentally friendly, but she's not sure how to even recycle these plates and bowls, for example. Here you can see the customer segment for this character is a mum. She's organizing a kids party, for example. So break your users and players down into particular segments, and then really dig into what pains and gains mean for those people. So gains for Becky, she wants to be an environmentally friendly mom, right? She wants to teach her kids cool things. But does she have time to go to the store and pick up those packaging, for example? We've got cool Trish. We looked at her a little bit, so she cares about the environment, but does she know how to use it, and can she pay for it? And we've got Luigi, who owns a taco stand, I think is what came out of this workshop, funnily enough. And we're in Berlin at this time, I should say, in Germany. And so yeah, his customers dig it. They think it's cool. He's down with being environmentally friendly, but can he get it anywhere? Does he have a good supply chain of being able to get that stuff regularly? So you might be thinking, like, who are these cool characters? So this is a VR app called Mind Show. And if any of you have VR tech, check it out. If you don't, you can find stuff on YouTube about this, and you can look at their website. They're super cool. So as you can see here, they're disrupting how animation is created and used. So they create this software that merges cutting-edge video game technology, visual effects, and machine learning. And I'm gonna really explain how we use this app in the room. So I'm gonna fly through some slides. I've got to apologize for the quality of some of the photos because I really didn't have documentation in mind. I was very focused on what was happening in the room and what were the outcomes, etc. So apologies in advance for the photographs, and I hope that I managed to put you in the room enough to see what we were up to. So here you can see we've got a headset on and we've got a character, and we're pulling that character into an environment. We've got a ton of environments to choose from and a ton of characters to choose from. So here you can see one of our characters that we use for this activity. So you have some nice UI over here. You're able to hop in to the character that you've selected. So you'll pull the character into the environment, and then you'll be able to hop in to their body. How do you see yourself? Of course you take a selfie. So you have a virtual mobile phone, and you pull that up. Right now I'm an owl, looking at myself. And I have this fantastic emotion radial wheel here that allows me to change expression, which will be reflected in the selfie. So every character has these emotions. And so this is, of course, why we're using this app in this activity. We're really trying to drill into empathy and to designing for emotions of our particular users and players. So you can see how this is a really nice match for this experiment. So you're in a room. You can see on a screen what other people are recording, and on the other side of the room you've got the one person in VR. There's a number of ways to do this. I only had one VR setup, hence the way that we did this, but yeah, you can do it in a number of ways. This actually works really well so that everybody can see what everybody else is doing and people don't go off into their own worlds and miss things. So this works really well, and you can see people are having fun. So look at, you know, the body language of everybody here, the expressions. If people are having a really good time. And these people don't know each other, you know, they've been thrown into a room at this point for maybe a couple of hours. And so you're really unlocking a lot of creativity and a lot of fun very quickly. So we did some warm up, kind of get to know you activities, but then once you start doing something like this, people get really comfortable. People are really happy playing, which was one of the targets we wanted to hit. There's something else I wanted to say about that. Aha! So this also democratizes any kind of power play. In this case, we weren't dealing with that, but let's say you're in a big company and you have a CEO and you have a junior artist, for example. It's very hard for those people to collaborate in like a real and meaningful way because someone's voice is stronger, someone might be afraid to speak. This is a really fantastic way to get everybody playing and creating together and really kind of balancing out any of those power structures. That's very cool. That's very hard to do usually, and this is an awesome way to do that very fast. So I'm hoping this video and audio is going to work for you guys. We recorded a ton of stuff. So we recorded introductions to our characters. We recorded their customer jobs, so we identified their goal. We recorded their pains and their gains. And then we recorded them talking about whether the solutions that we ideated about really fit well with what they were looking for. So I'm just going to show you some ways we experimented with just the pains and gains for today. So this is one of the ways we played with recording. I hope you get the audio clearly.
So I really think it's part of my job as a good mom and as host of the family picnic to buy biodegradable packaging over plastics. It's a great influence on the kids and some of the parents too, who've been pretty impressed with my choices so far. I just hope I have time to buy it, get to the party, make the food, put everything out, put the bins up, collect them, put them away at the end of the day.
Okay, so this was recording just one person recording both of the pains and the gains in one statement that really kind of encapsulated a day in the life of Becky. We all know Becky. So here we actually put 3 versions of the avatar into an environment and we recorded them as separate sentences. So we'll take a look at Trish.
Does it leak though?
Just toss and go.
But all our friends use it.
So you can see there's some pretty funky stuff going on with the motion capture. Here we've got like 3 different people from the group saying one thing each. I hope this is all making sense for everybody. So you hop inside the body, you press record, and you record the sentence. Here we've got Luigi and his taco stand. So let's take a look.
It's a good idea, but man, it ain't cheap. Yay, I can sell more.
Aw, my bio-organic taco holder not here. Oh, maybe I did it wrong.
So that was awesome. So that last guy was actually an Italian dude. That he wasn't making that up, like for Luigi. Hopefully that gives you an idea of the kind of things that were going on in the workshop and the way that we were trying to increase empathy for everybody. So yeah, let's recap the takeaways of that experience. and think about it in the context again of just how difficult it is to get into somebody else's shoes. These are still assumptions that we would need to test. We would still need to go out, as UX designers, you can't make that point strong enough. You have to go out and you have to test on your real market and your real player segments. But this got pretty far within a day of being together, of really bringing together some new insights about each other, about people we might have never met before, and really kind of valuable, unexpected takeaways. So we discovered insights in a really short time, and insights about all kinds of stuff, about our value proposition, but really about each other as well. So super efficient. Don't waste your life on a startup idea that you think is awesome, or a feature that you've decided is really cool. Find out whether it's good or not for sure in as short a time as possible. So you want this really agile process of prototyping and testing with real people, real opinions. It was grounded in a human-centered perspective. You can't come out with something that isn't human-centered in this particular experiment, which was really interesting. It's just so focused on the people. And we really, as UX designers, focused, of course, on player-centered design. And this is a really interesting way of how we can tap into that. We learned about each other as founders, within teams, as strangers, and we really broke down some of these invisible barriers that we put up around each other with labels and all the rest of it. So we really got to the heart of each other in a fast way. We managed to explore what good representation looks like for diverse groups, like so important in games, and not really talked about and explored enough. I think we should all agree, or can all agree. And the way to do that is to design with people. Don't design for people, right? Get people involved. Sometimes you might not come up with a black and white, answer. There might not be this moment of this perfect answer and solution at the end of an activity, but have you found out enough that you're confident in moving forward with a design decision? Because that's also super valuable. And hey, everyone had a lot of fun, and I think we all want to do that for ourselves and for each other. So, can we design a better world? Can we design better experiences for one another with these pillars? I like to believe we can. But one thing is for sure, and that is that if we don't keep experimenting, particularly with diversity play and new technology in mind, then we're never going to find out. That's it. Thank you so much.